Well, hello, everybody. It's so good to be with you again. I say that every time we get together, and every time I'm reminded of how much I enjoy just spending a few minutes with you sharing thoughts. Last week, we talked about resting, truly resting, and I thought I might sort of fine tune a little bit. Just briefly, some more thoughts I've had on the subject. I know for me, one of the reasons I sometimes feel guilty about resting is that I don't really appreciate what is happening inside my body when I stop moving. Actually, the science behind resting gives me permission. Uh, in fact, even a permission slip to finally relax. Rest isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually, as the scientists express it, a high level strategy for physical and cognitive excellence. Now, don't you feel much better about taking a little rest, taking a break? Uh, it's necessary for our autonomic nervous system to go through the process of physical restoration. Our bodies operate on a delicate balance between two primary states, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, those are big words, and um, people attach a lot of meaning to big words. You know, you can get your nickel word, you can get your $50 word, and these are pretty close. I'd say they're probably $25 words. Most of our modern lives are spent in that state of sympathetic dominance, often referred to as fight or flight when we're faced with a situation. We want to either stand up and fight or we want to run away, where our bodies get flooded with cortisol and adrenaline to meet the demands of our lives in general, whether it be personal or work lives. The body gets just flooded with these. While this state is really useful for the short term tasks, staying in it indefinitely leads to chronic inflammation, weakened immunity, and absolutely physical exhaustion. True rest is the only mechanism that allows the parasympathetic nervous system to take the lead and actually begin to work on cellular repair. When we intentionally choose to do nothing, we are giving the body a signal that it is safe to prioritize internal maintenance over external action. Now, we're not too good at intentionally doing nothing, but that's the message when we do so that is sent to our bodies. For example, during deep breaths, the heart rate slows and our blood pressure stabilizes, allowing our digestive and immune systems to receive the energy they usually divert to our muscles and brain during high stress activities. A person takes a quiet 20-minute break in the middle of a hectic day is not just taking a break, they are actively lowering their baseline cortisol levels. This physical rest is what prevents long term burnout and ensures the body remains a resilient vessel for fulfilling our goals. Then you have to think about the science of cognitive gains and memory consolidation. The brain is often compared to a computer, but it really functions more like a muscle that requires recovery to grow stronger and more efficient. When we are constantly taking in new information without any pauses, the brain just becomes super saturated. Uh, Leading to a phenomenon that some of us know all too well, cognitive overload, or just too much information, my brain hurts. I can't take any more in. Where we struggle to focus uh, or to make simple decisions. Stillness acts as a clearinghouse for the mind, allowing it to move information from short-term working memory into long-term storage. The process, known as memory consolidation, happens most efficiently when the brain is not being bombarded by new stimuli. Consider the common experience of struggling with a complex problem for hours, only to have the answer appear effortlessly without uh, any thought on our part while we're just relaxed and taking a walk or sitting quietly with a cup of coffee. This is not a coincidence. It is a result of the brain's diffuse mode of thinking when the focused big picture comes into place. It forges creative connections by stepping away from the desk or the table or wherever you happen to be and doing nothing. We essentially allow our mental processor to run in the background, sorting through all the data and finding patterns that our conscious mind was too busy to notice. There is something that the scientists sort of developed that's called a rest stress formula for sustainable growth. Um, Professional athletes have been using this concept, which is very similar to the well-known fact that muscles do not grow in the gym. They grow during the rest periods between the workouts. The same principle applies to our creative lives through a simple yet profound formula of stress times rest equals growth. We learn through the challenge and the rest to think about the challenge. If we apply stress without rest, the result is usually some type of injury. Some people get migraines even, or some type of decline. If we have rest without any stress, we sort of stagnate. We don't go anywhere. It's just same old, same old. The goal of a high-functioning life is to find the rhythm between these two states, ensuring that every period of high output is met with an equally high period of high quality recovery. Integrating this formula into our daily routine might look like a writer who works intensely for 90 minutes and then takes a break for 15 minutes. Does nothing but stand up, stretch, look out the window, maybe walk outside, take a breath of fresh air, look at the clouds. These are intervals that we need to respect because they give the mind that rest it needs to continue with the creative process. This reframes rest as an essential part of the actual work itself. It's just not all about putting pen to paper. There's much more involved here, and rest is part of the process. We can begin to see that a person who rests and takes a break periodically is actually more capable of handling high levels of stress because they are building the capacity to bounce back. Another thing that I think we often forget is reframing the lazy label into something that is more palatable. Maybe call it essential maintenance. One of the greatest of obstacles that we face is to embrace the science of stillness uh, without the lingering fear that we will be perceived as lazy. I I think a lot of times we're afraid to stop because we think people will think we're just goofing off or not taking something serious. Uh, this label is really just a social one that ignores totally the biological reality and often confuses activity with productivity. In reality, constant activity without rest is the least productive way to live, as it leads to errors, poor decision making, and sometimes emotional volatility. People can get themselves all out of sorts if they don't take time to rest. When we understand that our biological system requires downtime to function, that lazy label loses its power and is replaced by a commitment to something that is really critical, essential maintenance. We can compare rest to the way we treat our technology. We would never expect a phone to run forever without being plugged into a charger, nor would we call the phone lazy while it is charging. For instance, we find ourselves feeling lethargic in the afternoon. The most productive response is often to listen to the signal and rest for 15 minutes rather than forcing ourselves to just drink more coffee and try to keep on going. By aligning our actions with our biological needs, and rest is a biological need, we move away from a culture where performance is the primary value and into a culture of sustainable health. This shift allows us to take pride in our rest, knowing that it is the fuel for our future accomplishments. Maybe sometime during today or in the next few days, you can give that 90-minute rhythm that we talked about earlier a little try. Use the timer, and whatever you're doing, work at it for 90 minutes. When the timer goes off, commit yourself to a 10-minute break, some type of low stimulation rest, such as a walk, a quiet, gentle walk, quietly sitting, maybe listening to soothing music, and observe how the focus after that 10 minutes, when you go to your next 90-minute block of work, is sharpened by the deliberate pause. The body rests, reset twice a day is a good one to get in the habit of performing. It truly is one of the best gifts we can give to ourselves. Take a deep breath. Take 5 deep breaths to signal the parasympathetic nervous system to engage in doing a little bit of repair to your brain. This teaches the body that it can downshift on command. Rest is really a strategic advantage rather than a character flaw. So make sure that you take a few breaks today as you go through your busy, active life, and enjoy today thoroughly, and know that it's perfectly all right to rest up a little bit. I'm out of here and on to the next 90-minute block. My rest right now was spent with you, and it was a super one. Thanks a bunch. Bye for now.